everyone, so we're carrying on with triangles today and we're going to be looking at angles in triangles. So this is how it relates back to the previous topic, which was angles. Okay, so a quick starter. So what I want you to do is, we've got a number in the left column, so the first one's 100. Second column, I want you to work out what number we add to these to get to 180. So pause the video now and have a go at these, see if you can work out what number we need to add to get to 180. Okay, let's put some answers up. So the first one, we've got 100 plus 80 equals 180. Then we've got 30, 140, 100 and 52. So really well done if you managed to get those. These last couple a little bit tricky because you had to add two numbers together, and we'll see the relevance of this starter later in the lesson. Okay, so angles in a triangle. So angles in a triangle always add up to 180. This is the absolute key point of today's lesson. So if you learn nothing else today, this is the key thing to learn. Angles in a triangle always add up to 180 degrees, and we've got 1, 2, 3 angles. So these 3 angles, if you add them together, they always add to 180. So just a quick recap of the triangles we saw yesterday. So we saw a scalene, we saw right angle, we saw isosceles. Okay, so the key fact for today, angles and triangles always add to 180. So this was true for any triangle. So any of the types we saw last lesson, scalene, isosceles, equilateral, this works for all of them. So always adds up to 180. And we can see why this is. So if you imagine, in fact you can do this at home if you like, drawing a triangle on a bit of paper and cutting it out. If you then cut the triangle up into its angles, so basically cut the corners off the triangle, you can see that if you put them all together, so I'll just go through this animation. So you put them all together and line them up, you can see that what you get is actually a straight line. You can see we can make a straight line out of these 3 angles. And if you remember, a couple of lessons ago, we saw that angles on a straight line add to 180. So that is why angles in a triangle always add to 180. We're going to see how we can use this now. So working out angles in a triangle. This is the key factor we're going to use, that angles add up to 180. So if you know 2 of the angles, we can take them away from 180 to find the missing one. So let's do an example. So we've got a triangle here, we can see we've got this angle, but we don't know this angle. So we call that x because we don't know what that is. So what we can do, if we know that all 3 of these angles add to 180, we can work out what the 2 that we do know add up to, and then see how much more we need. So let's add up the 2 that we do know. So 50 plus 85 equals 135. So what do we need x to be then? What do we need our missing angle to be to make this add up to 180? So it's basically, what do we add to 135 to get 180? And this is what we're doing in the starter. We're working out what we need to add to get to 180. So what we can do 180 minus 135 to work out the missing bit. So we do that and we get 45. So that tells us our missing angle is 45 degrees. And when you know that, you can check it by adding them all up. So 45, add 85, add 50 will equal 180. And if it does equal 180, you know you've got that one right. So the first step was to finding angle x. We add up the 2 that we do know, take away that from 180, and that tells us our value of x. So let's have another go. So we know our rule, adding up to 180. If you want to have a pause and try this one yourself, feel free if you fancy a challenge. So step 1 was add up the angles we do have. So add up the angles we do have. So we do 60, add 95, and that equals 155. And step 2 was subtract from 180. So do 180, take away 155, equals 25. So our missing angle x is 25 degrees, because we've worked out that all of those added together would equal 180. And we know that angles in a triangle always add up to 180, so we've worked it out. Okay, so slightly trickier. So again, if you do think you know what to do with this, feel free to pause and have a go, but make sure you check your answer afterwards. So with this one, we've got this angle here. So it looks like we only know one angle. It looks like we only know this one, but actually we do know what this angle is. So see if you can remember, what does it mean when we've got a squared off corner? It means it is a right angle. And can we remember what right angles are in degrees? They are 90 degrees. So we do actually have two angles, which is what we need. So step one was add up angles. So we add up the angles we do have. So 65 plus 90, so 155. And step two was subtract from 180. And the reason for that is because we know that the total of all three has to be 180. So we do 180 minus 155, which equals 25. So that tells us that A equals 25 degrees. So we've worked out our missing angle there, all just because we know that the total is 180. Oh, we've got another one there. I'll leave that one. Right, sorry about that. I've copied this over from the previous slide, so there's a bit of a jump in the video, but don't worry too much about it. So calculate angle A. So we need to work out what our value of A is. So what is the missing angle? So again, we're going to use our two-step method. So step one was add up the angles that we do have. So we do 15 add 27 equals 42. And then we do 180 subtract 42. And that'll tell us what our value of A is. So it'll be 180 minus 42 is 138. So that tells us A equals 138 degrees. And we can check our answer then by checking that all three of these add together to make 180. So let's do that just to be sure. So 15, 27, 138. So we've got carry the 2 and then 8 and 1. So we can check that and see that it does actually work. We have got a total of 180 degrees now. Okay, so I'm going to put the answers up to this in a second, but before you start the Dr. Frost task, I'd like you to have a go at these. And there is one last thing I need to say after this. So when you've done these, don't just go straight over to the task. Make sure you do watch the next slide as well, because there is one last thing that's quite important for the Dr. Frost one. So do have a go at these. I'll put the answers up in a sec, just so you can check. Okay, so we've got 33, 64, 88 and 25 is our answer for this. So with this last one, a little bit trickier, because we've got the angle we have here isn't in the triangle. So what we need to do is, we know that angles on a point, so angles, this whole angle adds up to 360, and that's from 2 lessons ago. So we can work out what this angle is, and we can work out that one is 127. So when we know that, we can then add up these angles to work out this one. So this last one was a real challenge one, so really well done if you managed that. Oh, and this one as well, actually, same idea. So this one would be 34. Okay, so there's one last thing I need to discuss before we do the Dr. Frost. So on the Dr. Frost task, from question 6 onwards, the way they describe which angle they're talking about does change. So you're going to see things like this. So this little symbol here, which means it's an angle, and then 3 letters. And this is going to tell you which angle it is they're talking about. So the way these work is, this tells you it's an angle, and the 3 letters, you start on A, because that is the first letter. B is the second one, so you go from A to B, and then C is the third one, so you go from B to C. And if you look here what we've drawn in red, we've actually drawn this angle here. So that tells us this is the angle they're asking for. So it's just a slightly different way of describing an angle. The other way you can think about it is if you go to the corner of the middle one. So with this one, the middle letter was B, so you go to the corner that is labelled B, and that'll tell you the angle. So let's go through. So the answer to this would be angle ABC equals 48 degrees. So let's go through this second one as well. So we know it's an angle because of this symbol, and we see we start on B because B is the first letter. We then go to C. In fact, I'll do this in a slightly different colour just so it's more visible what we're doing. Just bear with me while I change the colour. Right, so we start on B because that is the first letter. Well, that's not very visible. I'll swap to the in green. So we start on B because that's the first letter. Then we go to C over here because that's the second. And from C we go to A. So what we've drawn there is this shape, so that is this angle here. So BCA, angle BCA is 32 degrees. So I've got one last one before we go on to the last one. So we've got angle, and it is CAB, so that means we start on C, go down to A, and we go up to B. So which corner is that? That is telling us it is this corner. So that is 100 degrees. So just before you go on to Dr. Frost, check that you can do this notation by having a go at these three. See if you can work out what the value of each angle is. Okay, so pause the video, have a go at that if you've not already. Okay, so ABC, so that means we're going to start on A, go to B, and then go to C. So we're going to start on A, we go to B, and then to C. Oh, that's not very neat. So we start on A, go to B, and then go to C. So that is this angle here that we've outlined. So that is 45 degrees for that one. So well done if you managed that. I'll switch it to a different colour, I'll go to red. So now we're going to start on B, go to C, and then go to A. So B, C, A. So we're highlighting this angle here. That's the one we're going on either side of. So that one is 85 degrees. And last one, C, A, B. So I'll do this in a different colour again. I'll go for green for this. So we're starting on C, and we're going A to B. So the angle we've made is this one, so that is 50 degrees for that one. So really well done if you got those right. If you're not sure, feel free to drop me an email because it is a bit of a weird type of notation. It's not one you've seen before. So if you're not sure, do drop me an email and I'll send you a few more examples and you can get the hang of this before you do Dr. Frost. But this will only apply for questions 6 onwards. The other one, it'll be a bit more obvious which one the angle is. So do email me if you're a bit stuck, but good luck with the task.